Good morning, everyone. We're here at the PW Perspective. My name is John Reid, and I'm the editor of the PW Perspective, located here in Prince William County. We are honored today to be joined by the 41st Lieutenant Governor of the state of Virginia, Lieutenant Governor, the Honorable Justin Fairfax. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Thanks so much, John. I'm wonderful, and I hope you're great and safe. Thanks for having us on.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And so, sir, just want to kind of go right into it. So, let's take us back for just a moment, and can you share with the viewers what was it like the day you decided I'm running for governor?
Yeah, John, it's it's a really incredible experience, and of course, having had the honor and the privilege of serving as the current Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, representing all 8.5 million Virginians, it's been an extraordinary opportunity to help lift people up all around the Commonwealth of Virginia, to provide economic opportunity, fighting for health care. I broke ties in the Senate to deliver Medicaid expansion. So now over 500,000 more Virginians have health insurance today as a result, fighting to keep people in their homes, against the eviction rates that we've seen skyrocket, and dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. And so really running for governor and hopefully serving in that role will be an extension of the work that we've been able to do as Lieutenant Governor, again, to help raise everyone up and to give them a shot at the American dream. It's really the passion of my life.
Absolutely. If I may just, Lieutenant Governor, kind of piggyback off that, because you're coming off a very successful General Assembly session where you've passed, along with Governor Northam, some very historic legislation. Talk about, for example, you talk about the eviction rates, lowering those rates. Talk about Medicaid expansion, which I know is a personal platform for you. And in addition to that, with the Worker Bill of Rights. And so, can you tell us just about a piece of legislation that had personal meaning to yourself, sir?
Absolutely. Extraordinary piece of progressive legislation. This really has been the most progressive administration in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And going back, I always say that my proudest day in the Senate was in 2018, when again I was able to break the ties to expand Medicaid in Virginia. And now again, 500,000 more people in Virginia have health insurance today as a result. Just a hugely important step forward for the Commonwealth and for all of our citizens. But again, there have been so many wonderful victories, frankly, on behalf of Virginians, on gun violence prevention, protecting women's reproductive health care, on fighting the effects of climate change, raising the minimum wage, which we've been able to do, and of course, dealing with issues around criminal justice reform, which is also a passion of mine as someone who is both a former federal prosecutor and also a defense attorney. I understand that we've got to make our system more just and more fair. And so in Virginia, we've taken great strides to do that. We banned the death penalty and abolished it here in Virginia. A powerful, powerful statement of going forward, how we're going to focus on justice, including racial justice, which is critically important. I'll be going back to the Senate next week, where we expect to legalize marijuana and are looking to push that date up to this year, to July 1st of 2021, as opposed to doing it 3 years from now. We're moving that up and accelerating that. It's a powerful item on behalf of so many constituencies who, some of whom have been harmed by this. We know that African Americans in particular have suffered dramatically when it comes to our drug and marijuana laws, arrested at disproportionately higher rates, incarcerated, convicted, and have had their lives in many ways turned upside down. And so in Virginia, we're beginning to right many of these historic wrongs. And so across the board, whether it's healthcare, education, housing, criminal justice reform, climate change, we really are making a sea change here in Virginia. And it's something that I believe is inspiring the rest of the nation to adhere to its highest values, to fight for the everyday average Virginian to have a shot. And that's really, what our focus has been.
Absolutely. And sir, if I may, I wanted to kind of advance on that, because you're going with a lot of momentum now as you head into the gubernatorial race. And you talked about criminal justice reform, and I know that's some of the platform that you have championed, days, from education and so forth. But I wanted to ask about that, because I know there's been a lot of discussion, especially with the unfortunate tragedy with Donovan Lynch in Virginia Beach. And there's been talk about, police body cams and so forth. So can you just talk about that, sir? As governor, how would you address that issue in regards to police reform?
It was a tremendous tragedy in Virginia Beach, both the mass shooting and the killing of Donovan Lynch. And I've been in touch with people in Virginia Beach to monitor that situation. And we need to get a resolution. We need transparency, an independent investigation to ensure that we get all the facts, that justice ultimately is done. We made some great strides when it comes to accountability and law enforcement. In our prior session, we banned chokeholds, which we saw was a horrific thing that happened in Minneapolis to George Floyd. And of course, now Officer Derek Chauvin is now on trial for his murder. We banned no-knock warrants, which we saw were part of the death of Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky. We've made it easier to hold officers accountable who engage in police brutality and misconduct, to be able to decertify them so they can't simply go from one jurisdiction to the next and commit the same types of police brutality in another community. We're making sure, again, that our system is more just and is more fair. Over time, historically, we have seen communities that have suffered because of our unequal and unjust criminal justice system. Whether that's Virginia being number one in the school to prison pipeline. We are first in the nation referring young people to the criminal justice system for school-based infractions. That must change to save our children and to give them a much brighter future. And that's something I have worked on and pledged to continue to work on, dismantling that school to prison pipeline piece by piece during my public service. We also know, again, that there are issues of racial bias and racial injustice in our system. We talked about how that applies in the death penalty context. And that's one of the reasons I'm very proud that we've abolished the death penalty, because it historically is racist. It targets communities of color, African Americans, and those without financial means. And so we want to eliminate that racial bias across the board, because we've also seen African Americans who have been disproportionately falsely accused of crimes, falsely charged, falsely convicted, falsely imprisoned. And one of the things that I have called for that others are now following is for conviction integrity units to be installed around the Commonwealth of Virginia. And what we have seen is that those conviction integrity units review prosecutions to determine where people have not been given a fair trial, or of course, where they're in fact innocent, where they were falsely accused, falsely charged, falsely convicted. And around the nation, we've seen so many people exonerated and freed as a result of the work of these conviction integrity units. So I'm proud that, again, the Attorney General's office is taking up that call to create one of those in the office. Also, there are Commonwealth attorneys around Virginia who are now doing that. That's something that we called for nearly a year ago and consistently have called for over the course of my time in public service. So it's all about creating more justice, more fairness, and more opportunity in our criminal justice system and in every system here in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Absolutely. Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax is joining us. And I want to go back for that in just a moment, sir, because you talked about, making a fair and equitable system. I know one of the things that you've also championed is to have more diversity in our criminal justice system by putting legislators, I should say, of communities of color. Can you talk a little bit about that as well, and how you can do that as governor, sir?
Absolutely. One of the things that I championed, again, even before I was elected to office, because it's been a passion of mine as a lawyer, someone who's been, fighting for justice in our system for many years. I helped co-found an organization called the Virginia Coalition for Racial Diversity in the Justice System. And the goal of that organization, which has been really, we've been tremendously successful, is having more diverse appointments to the judiciary here in Virginia, to prosecutors' offices, to public defenders' offices. And what we've seen really is a record number of minorities, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, who in recent years have been appointed to the judiciary all throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia, in part because of the advocacy work that we've done to highlight the disparities that exist. There were some jurisdictions that had never had a minority appointed to the judiciary, and we thought that that's wrong because people in the community need to see a criminal justice system that reflects the community, that they have trust in that system because it's one that is perceived as fair and it's actually fair. And we're also seeing diversification in our Commonwealth Attorney's offices, and public defender's offices around Virginia. So this is something I think is critical when you talk about having a system, again, that the citizens trust, that is in fact more just, that is in fact more fair. And it's something that I will continue to work on in my time as Lieutenant Governor, and as Governor. It's something I will continue to push for as well.
Absolutely. And let me ask, because a lot of people know about your impeccable record, Lieutenant Governor. And so for those who, if you give a chance to speak to those who may not know the real Justin Fairfax, and who you are. And for those who may have just, based on things they may have heard, but let's give them a chance to roll the real you, sir. And how do you reach them to make sure you get victory in November?
Well, thank you so much. And first, we want to make sure everyone votes in the primary on June the 8th. We have a Democratic primary in Virginia, statewide, so everyone should come out and vote. And of course, early voting starts April 24th, so we encourage everyone to come out and vote and make their voices heard. I am someone who was raised primarily by a single mother in inner city Washington, D.C., the youngest of 4 children. And we started off in a situation that was very difficult. Didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a lot of resources, and in fact, lived in an environment in the mid 80s in DC that was really dangerous. I lost a lot of friends to gang violence, to guns, to drugs, to a broken criminal justice system. And the reason that we were able to aspire to more and to achieve in life and to give back to others is because people gave us a high quality education. They gave us economic opportunity. My mom was able to pursue her career as a pharmacist, and with the help of so many people, people in our church, in our neighborhood, and in our schools, was able to put all 4 of her children through college and 2 of us through law school, starting from a very difficult place. Yes. And so I went on to attend Duke University, where I was proud to serve on the board of trustees. Later, I went to Columbia Law School in New York City, and also was very proud to have been elected to the Columbia Law Review, which led to many great opportunities in life. I clerked for a federal judge here in Virginia, and then later worked for law firms and became a federal prosecutor in the major crimes and narcotics unit before entering life in elected office. And so, I've had a tremendous amount of incredible people in my life and incredible opportunity that has allowed us to really beat the odds in life, to change the course and direction of what was possible. And I tell people that the things that made that possible were something like I call spiritual wealth. Yes. Again, we didn't have a lot of money, but we had faith, we had hope, we had a high quality education. People who loved us. So no matter how dark today may seem, no matter how tough it may be, tomorrow can always be brighter. And you have to believe that every single day of your life. But they also taught us that you have to lift other people as you climb. And that when you get spiritual wealth in your life, you then have to make sure that other people are able to have the exact same shot in life that you have, that you have to repay the spiritual debt that you then owe. And so that's really been my philosophy and all the work that I've been able to do. And I'm very proud as Lieutenant Governor to really get up, to continue that work, to benefit millions of Virginians through the work that we do and giving them the same kind of shot in life that I was so blessed to have. And of course, we also have very deep connections and deep roots here in Virginia, one of which relates to my last name. And as you know, last name is Fairfax, just like the county and the city. And growing up, I didn't know the connection to Virginia, but was often asked how we got that last name. Well, I learned the week of inauguration in 2018 that my father, 2 days before inauguration, working with us, discovered a deed of manumission that had freed my great grandfather, Simon Fairfax, from slavery in Fairfax County, Virginia on June the 5th, 1798. He was freed by a man named Thomas Fairfax, who was the ninth Lord Fairfax, for whom the county and the city are named, their family. And so my father got a copy of the document 2 days before inauguration. He gave it to me 20 minutes before I walked up the steps of the Capitol on inauguration day to take the oath of office as the 41st Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. And so I had a copy of that document in my breast pocket as I raised my right hand to take the oath of office. And so 220 years later, Simon Fairfax's great grandson was being sworn in as the #2 in command of the very same state where he had been. And that really brings home to me is the power of the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it ultimately bends toward justice. And what I believe is that we can bring that kind of justice to everyone. That if that story is possible in Virginia and in America, then everyone's story is possible in Virginia and in America. And so it keeps me inspired about the work ahead. It keeps me fortified against any of the obstacles that we all face here, whether that's the COVID-19 pandemic, whether that is many of the challenges that so many people face in their everyday lives. That inspiration of what is possible when we invest in each other is what really makes me know that we are on the right path and that we're fighting for all 8.5 million Virginians for a brighter day and a future for each one of their families.
Absolutely. That's such an inspiring story, Lieutenant Governor. Wow, it's just so beautiful just to hear that. Like I said, someone who was a citizen slave to be able to ascend to the second highest office and hopefully to the highest office in the Commonwealth. And you just talked a moment about recovery, because we are all, kind of transitioning from the pandemic. And while there's, we're seeing more vaccination clinics taking place, especially here where we live in Prince William County and abroad. And that's one of the things that you're also working hard on, making sure Virginians can get back to some sense of normalcy. So can you talk about that as far as leading economic recovery? I know Virginia is one of the best states for businesses, but for a lot of small businesses, unfortunately, they had to close. A lot of childcare centers had to shut down and have been impacted. So, sir, what can you do as governor to make sure that the Commonwealth can get back on the right track economically?
Yes, such a critical question. And as I've said, that this COVID-19 pandemic has really been a triple crisis. It has been a healthcare crisis, it's been an economic crisis, and it's also been a crisis that has exposed so many of the inequities in our society, be they racial injustice or many of the other issues that have plagued us now in Virginia for 400 years. And so what I have done in my time as Lieutenant Governor, what I would do as governor, is to ensure that every Virginian and that everyday Virginians are able to get back on their feet. They're able to provide for their families, for all of those who lost jobs, that we get them back employed and get living wages so that they can really do what they need to do to ensure that their family can come out of this crisis and be stronger than they were going into it. We need to support our small businesses. As you mentioned, we've had so many small businesses that have closed as a result of this pandemic. And so I believe we need to provide state level and federal level resources to get small businesses back open. So for those who have lost the opportunities to have their small businesses be open, we need to give them grants and low or no interest long-term loans so that they can get back restarted to do the work they were doing, providing jobs and supporting our economy and our communities. We need to make sure that workers, particularly those who have been deemed essential workers through this pandemic, have wages that are commensurate with the work that they do. I think we should have guaranteed hazard pay for those who have had to work through this pandemic. I believe we absolutely need to have family and medical leave. We need to have more funding for childcare. And you mentioned childcare centers closing, and that's got to be one of the first areas that we focused on, is making sure that people have access to high quality childcare so that they're not only the children can be taken care of, but that they can get back to their lives and to their work. And so, through the course of this COVID-19 pandemic, I worked closely with Governor Northam. In terms of recovery efforts, we have provided, tens of millions of dollars in small business grants to make sure that folks can keep the doors open. And for those who again, have unfortunately had to close, and we can get them back on their feet. I also was the first statewide official to recommend that our schools close back last March, a year ago. And at the time that I made that recommendation to the governor, we had 77 coronavirus cases confirmed here in Virginia. And yet today we have hundreds of thousands. And so we wanted to look ahead and anticipate what was going to come to keep our communities and our kids and our families safe. And now we've got to safely reopen our schools to make sure that our kids are getting the high quality education that they need. And so this is going to be a long-term effort. And we've got to stick with every person in every community to make sure that they get ahead of where they were before this crisis came and impacted all of our lives. And I've also proposed that we have an index that those communities that have been most impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic get the most in the first help when we start to really make that effort to get them the resources that they need. So in decades, if not generations. And so this is going to be a critical component of our recovery. I should also mention I proposed the most transformational education investment plan in the history of Virginia, called the 40-30-10 plan. And what that plan would do is to rebuild and reimagine every K-12 public school in Virginia that's at least 40 years old. It would do so with a $30 billion investment, and it would do it within 10 years. So this would impact schools and communities in every part of Virginia. We would also raise teacher pay above the national average for the first time in the history of the Commonwealth. And we would guarantee every young person in Virginia an opportunity for a summer job or summer enrichment opportunity so that they can pursue the arts, STEAM H, science, technology, engineering, the arts, math, healthcare, athletics. We want to make sure that our communities not only are recovering and surviving, but they are thriving. And this is the kind of round the clock investment that we have got to make in those communities to, again, not only get them back to where they were, but to get them ahead. And so I'm committed for that long-term recovery and to making sure that Virginia continues to not only thrive economically, but then supports every single Virginian who needs the help.
Absolutely. You may, when you said about the teachers, you made her loud amen. That was my wife back there. Right? She's been educated for 20 years, and she's a Duke fan. So I say, yes, ma'am. Oh yes. Yes.
Thank you for her work. Thank you for her extraordinary work. We appreciate it very much. Our teachers have been heroes, forever. Now we've really got to step up for them. We have increased teacher pay by 5%.
That's right.
During the course of the last several years, which is an important step. We still need to pay teachers what they're worth, and we've got to continue to invest in them and in our children in our public schools. So thank her for all that she's doing and all the adaptation that she's had to do through this crisis with the virtual learning and supporting our kids through this. And it's really, really, really critically important.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I want to just go on with this. This has been so wonderful, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you so much. I want to go on with this one question. Through it all, through all the successes, the controversies, and the future goals that you have for Justin Fairfax, can you give us one statement that defines you and where you're going?
Yes. I believe I've been given tremendous spiritual wealth in my life, opportunity for a high quality education, to have a brighter future, to overcome odds and obstacles throughout every stage of life. And I believe that I now have a spiritual debt to repay, to make sure that others can overcome those obstacles in their lives, that they can get the exact same opportunity for a high quality education, for a high paying job, to take care of their families, to deal with these crises and to come out even stronger. And so, I'm extremely blessed in all those regards, and also blessed for the journey that my family and so many others have been able to take. And I really want that for every single Virginian. And I believe that working together, we can provide that, and we can make Virginia a place where justice, fairness, and opportunity are applied to everyone. And so that's really our focus. And Of course, Virginia, we just commemorated 400 years since the first meeting of the General Assembly in 1619, and also 400 years since the first enslaved Africans were forced to land right here in Virginia, in Hampton, Point Comfort, Fort Monroe. And what I believe is that we are now in the second year of the next 400 years of Virginia, that we get to write a different story, that we get to deal with the issues of racial injustice and oppression, include more people in the scope of opportunity to build a future that is one of hope and opportunity and inspiration and justice and fairness for everyone. And it's really the work of a lifetime for each one of us. And we are in this together. And I know that we will succeed. I know that we will prevail. And I look forward to working with, again, all 8.5 million Virginians to make sure that their lives are better when we come out of this entire this crisis. And so we are grateful for everyone for the work that they're doing, and looking forward again to the next 400 years of Virginia, which will be powerful and certainly brighter than the last 400.
Absolutely. The Honorable Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. Sir, thank you so much for taking time. I know you have somewhere to be, but I thank you for just taking time, your flexibility to meet with us today. And I hope we can do this again soon.
Thank you, John. I look forward to it. And go Vikings to the Woodbridge Vikings. Yeah,
thank you. Thank you again. Please send my best to Dr. Fairfax and the family, sir. Thank you again. And
I definitely will.
I appreciate it, sir. You enjoy your day. Thank you, sir. All right, so.
Thank you, John. You too. God bless.